Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Welcome back. I'm Amber Jones, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Kristen Hessler and Cindy Murray.
Hi.
So, if you're new to this podcast universe, we are Modern Musings, and we sit around and talk about stuff. And you know what we're going to talk about today, right? It's funny, like, I teach college, right? And so one of the major reaching themes of this last semester, has been AI. So we're going to talk about AI because it's just like suddenly AI is everywhere.
It is.
It's like it just crept up. Did it not?
It's changing exponentially.
It's just like
every month there's something new.
Yeah, every
AI
month
can
there's
offer.
something new AI. It's like all of a sudden AI has always been around. Like Kristen and I were looking at like the origins of AI, which is kind of interesting, and I'll let her talk about that here in a minute. But like the thought of AI has always been around for centuries. Maybe not that long. Well, yeah. Centuries. So, the idea behind it, and there have been multiple movies featuring AI.
Oh boy, yeah.
Good and bad, and books. I read a really awesome book where AI has taken over the world.
There's lots of those.
Yeah, lots of books like that. So, it's just like a really hot topic right now. So I thought we should talk about it. But it just seems like all of a sudden AI was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was like
you
could talk to AI through Snapchat. You could talk to AI through Google. This is going to be something
that was it's coming. Oh my God, it's been here a while now.
Yeah,
it's like zoom past. Right.
It's just like I remember last year, December or January-ish. Last school year anyway. Another teacher comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, have you heard of this thing called ChatGPT?" And I'm like, "Chabadabada?" I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "ChatGPT." And I was like, "No, I haven't heard of it." And last year I taught seniors, okay? And so I had been assigning papers all year, and it was apparently something that I hadn't heard of, but it had been kind of around, And she said, "Yeah, the seniors were talking about it." And I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's this new thing where you can pretty much write almost anything with it. You could write song lyrics, or it can write song lyrics. I mean, it's not really your song lyrics.
Right.
It's it can write poetry. It can write a short story. I wouldn't say it'd write a whole novel, but it would, it can write an article. It can write a blog, and it can make it sound like a human.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "What? Nuh-uh." And so then I did some research. I'm like, "Oh, wow." And that kind of got me and then I started to hear the kids talking about it themselves. And I was just like, "What is this?" And so I, connected or whatever, Google connected to it, and started messing around with it last year. And so when my seniors' final paper comes up, and I told them, you have to write a final paper as your final, and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And I'm like, "Really? You're gonna write a final paper?" I'm
no complaining, no grousing.
Yeah. And I'm just like, that's suspicious. So I'm reading these final papers, and I'm like, "Hey, that's a pretty good paper. Cool." So I go to the next paper. "Hey, that's a pretty good paper. Not bad." So then I go to the next paper, and this is somebody that wouldn't have like a really great paper. And I'm like, that's a really good paper.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, so then that made like forced me to kind of like look even more. So I'm like, okay. So at the same time, Grammarly came out with an AI,
Right.
Mhm.
and that grades papers for teachers.
Right.
So what I did is I graded all of their papers with AI. Since they all wrote it with AI, I graded all their papers with AI and gave them the opposite grade of what they would have gotten.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was pretty clever to get back at them for not writing an authentic paper.
Right. Right.
And and that was like my little rebellion last year. And over the last year I've been playing with ChatGPT, making it do like and different AI things too, because now like Canva, no, it's not Canva. It's
Canva has an AI.
yeah, Canva now does have an AI. Like Microsoft, like suddenly like I can get this AI like Illustrator thing with my computer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been like playing around with that.
Yeah, there's a lot
making
of
AI
art.
pictures,
Yeah.
which is interesting because like to make these pictures, you would think like oh, you just click a button. But no, you have to describe.
You have to describe
Yeah.
what you want.
So
and
I
then
thought
it
that's really kind of
combines.
cool.
There
You
is
have to
a creative
describe
process
what
to
you
it.
want.
Yeah.
Yes, you have
like
to know
down
what you
to
want.
the detail exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So I made an AI picture, and I'll post it on my blog even, of my wedding day with Jason.
Oh.
And it's like it looks like an anime picture, and I've got purple hair
Oh,
in
yeah,
front of the
yeah.
castle,
Yeah.
and I thought it was pretty cool.
I think I remember
I
you
just
showed us that when
completely
you
wrote
did
out
it.
a
Yeah.
description of it, and that's what they came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are y'all like? How about y'all? Like what do y'all do with AI? Have y'all been experimenting, looking around?
I haven't really used it a whole lot. I have a little bit of a hesitation.
Mm-hmm. No, for
there's
sure.
there's a lot of issues with using AI. The obvious ones, like in the instance of your student cases, using it. There's a lot of
authenticity.
Inauthenticity. Thank you. I can say that word. I can. Yeah, I'm not editing that out. No, I'm not.
It's
no, but there is. There's
takes away the creativity.
There is still a creative aspect to it, like you mentioned, like with the art things, and I know some graphic artists who use AI now to do some of their artwork because it makes it faster than hand drawing things,
But like hand drawing is like that art is going to go away.
Well, will it though? I mean, really, will it? I don't know. But I mean, there is still, the artist in that artwork. They still have to have some creativity in that creation, but there are limits to it because, like you said, it's like with your students creating a paper. How much creativity are they putting into that paper? Are they just telling ChatGPT, here's my subject, write a paper?
Right, because they're not actually doing the research to write the paper.
They're not putting the research in. Now the artists who are doing it, they're saying, I want a picture of Amber and Jason at a wedding, at a castle, with the colors of purple and whatever, and you're describing all these details to it. So there is your creativity because you have that picture in your head. Those students do not have that paper in their head, and they're using the ChatGPT to take the words out of their head and put them in paper written form.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference there. So I do like the idea of using the AI to do some of those things, but at the same time, how many of those things are going to supplant human work?
Oh, I fully think that like robots are totally going to take over
Well,
teachers. Like
Oh.
and there's just so many things there. And I grew up
that's
in a
one of my
world
big
where
concerns.
well, yeah, I mean, I grew up in a world where AI was not necessarily a good thing. You know, let's look at the Terminator, HAL from 2001: A Space Odyssey. You know, how many different bad AIs have there been?
You know what?
The,
That's
all
really
the
interesting
worst,
because
all
a
of the
lot of
worst
those
things.
movies actually came out during um,
Yeah, it was like a certain
AI.
time.
So from the 70s and the 80s, that
Right.
was called AI winter, where interest in artificial intelligence and researching it actually kind of died down,
Right.
and it's almost like fear mongering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, here's all the bad things that could go
and,
wrong,
and so we're like, I don't want
people
anything
were
to do
like,
with that.
no, no, no. And it's really interesting because people in your generation are very hesitant to
Yes,
AI.
I
and
don't.
Mhm.
I
worried
don't.
about it like stealing jobs and stuff like that,
Right.
which is interesting.
Well,
because
they're already using it in a lot of ways. You know,
Well,
to
they're already using it to steal jobs.
Yeah.
Like AI scans resumes now.
yes,
And won't even get an interview if it doesn't
Exactly.
find the right keywords on
Right.
your
Yep.
resume.
Yep.
right, and you know that whole algorithm. You know, there it's just being used in so many different ways. And you know, do I think it's all a bad thing? No, I don't. But I think that we lack the controls to control it.
Oh, sure. Like AI sentiency is a very
That's a huge fear.
it's a fear, and it is a very possible thing
Right.
that could happen where it could just take off like the book that I mentioned earlier, and I actually loaned it to Kristen or gave one to Kristen, you know, that she hasn't read yet, but so I'm not going to do any spoilers, but it's like the whole premise is that AI has become sentient and taken over the world.
Yeah.
And gotten rid of death, which, you know, that's, you know, you think, "Oh, wow, that's awesome." But then they're still on Earth, and we were talking about in our last podcast, you know, population
Right.
and
Right.
possibly, you know, having to
And
go
there's no
out
death,
to other
then
planets
there's-
and stuff.
Yeah.
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 Well, with any technology or just anything in general, there's too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Right.
And on any kind of technology, there's the good flip of the coin and there's the bad flip of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, yes, technology with AI, you do run the risk of degradation of society, but you also have all the value and increase in
Right.
that it has to
Right.
offer for society.
Right. Because it could be used by people who use it ethically
Yes.
to create things that are better than what a human mind could
Right.
create.
Just like nuclear science.
But
yeah.
remember, we are humans.
let's I mean, think about it in the terms of medicine, in the terms of architecture, things like that. Maybe we need to
now that would be pretty cool.
Okay, so if you think about it, we want to build the most efficient building in the world that will sustain hurricanes, earthquakes, whatever. Being able to use AI with the right parameters, it's programmed with the right parameters, the right algorithms, whatever. The AI can do those massive calculations, check all the possibilities, and possibly come out with the perfect building that that would sustain life, or whatever in these severe circumstances. Same thing with medicine. You program everything you know about it into this AI. Maybe AI can find the cure to cancer.
Exactly.
Or the preventative to cancer. And those are great things. But in the wrong hands, used the wrong way, I think about the movie or the series called The 100. If you're not familiar with it, it's an older one that was on, I believe, the CW.
Yep.
Yes.
And it was about this society where a nuclear holocaust had caused mankind to be stranded on the space station for over 100 years or whatever, while the Earth cooled back down, and they sent people down. But it was an AI that caused this. The AI had determined that mankind was the problem, and it just decided to wipe them all out.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that's something we have to worry about. What happens when the AI decides that man is the problem?
Yeah.
And a lot of these fear-mongering shows, that's
Right.
exactly like what AI does in all
Right.
of these shows, that man is the problem.
Right. Or in 2001 A Space Odyssey, HAL 9000
Had all
it was
control
sent
of the
it was sentient, and it had a flaw. It had a flaw
just
that
like
was in it,
humans.
just like humans do. And when it figured out that it was going to be shut down, it went into self-preservation mode and killed the rest of the humans. So, it's going to preserve itself if it becomes sentient. It's going to protect its own life beyond.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually an interesting catch-22, because your argument is that humans want to preserve themselves by not using AI
Mm-hmm.
for fear that AI
Will eliminate
eradicate
the humans.
humans because it's like we're both afraid of each other because
Mm-hmm.
Right.
there can only be one.
Well,
There can be only one.
Right.
I mean,
But-
humans.
We both see the
We
flaws
see ourselves
in each other.
and we see ourselves as the top of the food chain. And what happens if we're not? And that's where.
And then we bring the dinosaurs back, and we're no longer top of the food chain.
But what happens? If the AIs do have more power than us,
Mhm.
and there's all kinds of like the Terminator or whatever.
Right. Well, already AI, even if just in that minimal instance where AI is filtering out resumes, it is already making choices for us.
And
Yeah.
it's already deciding who is worthy and who is not.
Of
Based
having a
on
job.
what they
And-
did on
and
their
it-
resume.
And it
that
could
was
have
probably
nothing to
written by
do with
AI.
whether they are a valuable asset to a company.
Right.
It's
Because
just
they're not
on
getting that face to face.
it's on a logic,
Mhm.
this purely algorithmic
Uh-huh.
decision.
And then on top of that, because AI is created by a human, it itself has flaws.
It has the
because
flaws that
human
the
has
humans
flaws.
programmed into it.
What
yeah.
if a human accidentally programmed the AI to, or even on purpose, not allow any person whose name is John with a resume?
So
through the
there have
process?
been
Right.
instances where AI has been racist and sexist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Without realizing it? Just
Yeah,
was
because-
it
yeah.
was it intentionally programmed that way?
No,
or?
it wasn't intentionally programmed that way. It was just
Interesting.
there have been sexist and racist.
Do you know where? Do you have any data on that? I'd love to know.
Right? I know. I'm like, is it saying like, okay, yeah, for this particular job, I do not feel like a woman would be
Appropriate. Like maybe it's
construction
maybe
or
it's
something.
loading
Yeah.
big bags of concrete on a pallet or whatever. Yeah, and women, she's too small, so therefore, yeah.
So it has been like mostly like come up in like AI chatbots,
Okay.
racism and sexism. Yeah.
Okay.
I had a couple of students do papers over racism and sexism in AI chatbots.
Oh,
Like,
I'd be
more
interested to
particularly
see
like,
some of those links on heard it on the podcast because
For sure, yeah, like especially like on Snapchat and stuff like that, because there is actually an AI that you can talk to.
oh yeah,
on
lots of
Snapchat.
companies are using
They
bots.
just added one to Messenger,
yeah there's-
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, there's lots of bots that can be used on different websites, and it's to the point now that you can't even talk to a person because you have to go through the bot. and it's
Yeah.
crazy.
There's
And
quite a few of those on-
sometimes the bot doesn't even understand what you're trying to say. So, you know, what do you do?
So, one instance with racism and sexism has been actually it has actually been through OpenAI's ChatGPT.
Oh, really?
Like when it first came out.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, send that link over, and I'll put that on so people can look at that.
I wish I could remember the chat bot, but there was literally one on the internet when we first got the internet. I mean, this was like in the 1999, 2000, one of those years. And there was a website where you could go on and chat with
a bot.
Uh-huh. And it's really interesting because to me, like, I used to go and visit that website a lot. As a teenager, and just like see what I could get it to say. And I never really thought about it being like racist or anything like that.
Right.
But literally, that program that they created was designed, like, the more you chatted with it,
the more it learned.
Yeah.
So literally the AI is just a bunch of algorithms put in place based on the data that's already provided.
But it learns.
So,
the whole thing is that it keeps learning. It keeps learning.
Right.
It keeps learning.
But it only learns based on what you give it. Just like a child.
Right.
If you raise a child in an unethical or unhappy home,
right,
it is going to be more likely to grow up with unethical values.
But that is not the only predictor in a child. That is not the only predictor of whether someone becomes a sociopath or whatever.
No.
That can happen even in a happy home.
True.
And so that's, it's, I don't know, it's just so unpredictable. And like I said, there's so many ways where it could supplant human efforts that it just really makes it a challenge for me, because are those kids who are using ChatGPT to write their papers, are they actually learning how to write a freaking paper? And if they're not learning how to write the paper, then that knowledge will eventually become lost,
at
and
the
nobody.
Grade they're in, they should already know how to write a paper.
I've had these particular,
but they're not the only ones using it.
I taught them how to write a paper.
Right, but
they know how to write it.
But they do. But the ones that are now in 8th grade also have access to ChatGPT. And
they use it freely, according to my coworker. Yeah.
And if they're using it at earlier and earlier and earlier ages, then they are not learning how to write a paper. They're using ChatGPT to do it. And I just see so many ways it can go wrong. And I mean, I see people using it to write music, to do art, to...
Well, that was another thing that I wanted to ask your thoughts about, because right after, OpenAI and ChatGPT, there became the Hollywood protests last year.
Right.
About the using of images, AI regenerating images.
Of people. Okay, Star Wars is a perfect instance of that, because... Carrie Fisher died, and yet she appeared in all 3 of the most recent actual Star Wars trilogy movies, right? So she was artificially created, and these artists are afraid that once they sign these contracts to be in something, they can keep using their images over and over and over again without their permission. They're not getting any money from that.
Well, and at this point, do you really need a musical artist?
Right. Do you need an actor? I mean, they can, the CGI...
We already have proven you don't even need a set anymore.
Right.
You no longer
Michael
need a
Jackson had a whole concert.
Right.
And he's not alive.
Right. Yeah. So, it's like... I don't know. I'm very uncomfortable with it. I really am. So I think it takes away from actual artists, actors, musicians. It's one thing if the artists, the actors, the musicians are using it
I
to
got a good quote for
increase
you.
their value by doing, doing more with it, but when someone else is using it to recreate what they would have done, then I have a problem with it. It's an ethical problem.
So I was scrolling through something, maybe Instagram or something, and someone posted this. Her name is Joanna Macy Juska. I think she's the author.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But I'll send you the thing I
Mhm.
screenshotted. It's her actual post, so I wanted to make sure I quoted her. She says, "You know what the biggest problem with pushing all things AI is? It's going in the wrong direction. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing.
Exactly.
Not for AI to do my art and writing so that
So-
I can do laundry and dishes."
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
is going in
The
the wrong way in
human
that
mind is
I want it
so
to clean
creative.
my house.
I don't want AI to take over those creative
But
things.
like we were talking about in the Moon podcast, right?
right?
In order for us to have some of the technology in our everyday homes, they had to create that technology to land on the moon.
Right.
Right now, this technology, what they're creating for fun and art and music and entertainment
Right.
industry and ChatGPT is paving the way for AI to be able to do those other jobs.
Do you really think that, or do you think they just bypassed it? Because I think they just bypassed those things. I think they decided there's more value in being able to do the creative things, because those creative tasks are far more difficult to program than a robot that can do the laundry.
I don't know, because I feel like something that creates pixels on a computer is easier to create than an actual robot that
No, because they're
has
not
to fold
random.
laundry.
They're not random pixels. That's the difference. They're not random pixels. They're creative, artistic representations of those pixels. They're putting that music together, putting those notes together in an artistical way. The artistry is a challenge to program. Something that is pleasant to the ear and doesn't sound manufactured, right? That is,
They want to take those challenges.
they're programming it to do all those challenging things. It is not challenging for a robot to program a robot to sort the laundry. That is not hard at all. I'm sure there have been robots that have been able to do that for a long time now. So, but those are not available to us.
Well, you know,
That
you
we
have
do
to be
have the
super
iRobot
rich to.
we have the little iRobot, that vacuums the floor.
Or
We have
there's one
those.
that mows the lawn.
There is one that mows the lawn. There are things like that. The laundry's not a far stretch. Doing the dishes is not a far stretch.
I mean, it's out there. You know, it's just like way expensive to have that
Right.
kind of smart house.
I think
Right.
people are working on
But
that. Yeah,
so
smart
okay,
house.
here's the thing. You're talking about the expense of it. Do you think that ChatGPT is cheap? No, but they're giving it to you for free.
Yeah,
Why?
there's-
Why are they giving it to you for free? Because
Because
they
all of
are
these
getting
companies-
something out of it.
all of these
absolutely.
companies are giving it money, like they're
Right.
selling information.
Companies do not just give anything.
No.
Well, you know what I mean.
They are not giving. They're getting.
I can tell you that ChatGPT, well, its
it
last
is
update
sucking
was
up your data.
well, its last update was January of 2022.
So now you have to
update,
pay for
its
it if you want
version.
anything new.
Okay.
Right. So you can search things on the internet that I know if I went on Google, I could type in and it would pull up,
Right.
right? But ChatGPT doesn't see it. GPT, sorry. It doesn't see it on the internet. So if it's actually really scouring the internet and doing its job, then it would have been able to pick up
Well, I'm not talking about it scouring, but it is
No.
collecting data from you
Right.
when you use it.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what Amber was saying, like, companies are putting into ChatGPT. Just like, you remember how we were looking at restaurants the other day on Google Maps?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And the only ones you see are the ones that pay for ads on
Yes.
Google. Yes.
And we were literally like 6 minutes away from a restaurant, and we had scrolled past like 50 restaurants, and some of them were like
Miles and miles
20
away.
minutes away.
Right.
And it was trying to recommend those to us, but not the one that was 6 minutes away.
It didn't even show the one that was 6 minutes away at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
You have to like really like zoom in to be able, if you're on a map and looking, you have to really zoom in to be able to see those things.
And they're not
Right.
listed in the list
Exactly.
version. Right.
And so with AI, it is being influenced based on who monetarily says they want. So AI is not out of corruption because
it's not
based
altruistic
on,
at
yeah,
all.
That's what I mean.
It is
Thank
not
you. Yes.
altruistic at all.
People are paying
It is
into
not
it.
free. It is not even free to you because you are paying
So it's
by
giving
adding
you
your.
what they, whoever they are,
It's
want
feeding
you
you
to
what
see.
it wants you to have, and you are paying in kind by giving it your data.
Some of the major companies that you'll see using AI right now are ones that you do pay for. And like Google, we're really well known about Google.
Yeah.
Amazon,
Right.
obviously, they use it for recommending movies, products
Books,
to
yeah.
buy. Netflix actually uses it to give you content. Facebook, Microsoft, IBM, Apple, and Tencent. So those are all like major companies that you're using like all day, every day.
Every day, yeah.
Literally in any, I'm not sure about Tencent. It's a Chinese tech giant. But all of those other companies, I literally use them every day.
Yeah.
So even if you don't want AI,
you're still
being
exposing
influenced.
yourself to AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
lots of companies that are using AI for a lot of different things. I was talking to a friend in a Zoom call yesterday, and she had earlier in the day sat in on a Zoom presentation webinar by a student working on her master's in linguistics, I believe, and she was using AI to read. Well, let me back up a little bit. The person's research. She was working on her master's thesis, and her subject of her thesis was manifestos of mass shooters, right? And the linguistics of the manifestos of mass shooters. And so she's trying to use these manifestos to create a predictor based on the linguistics used in the manifestos, a predictor of whether someone who writes a manifesto will become an actual mass shooter. So she is using AI to read those papers and outline the linguistic forms used in those manifestos.
Interesting.
And then so it's actually, because she could sit and read each and every one of those manifestos and outline, he used the word, he used this word 15 times, or he used this word in combination with this word this many times. But it's so much faster to use the AI to do that calculation, and that research. So it's an interesting use of AI, and there's more and more and more uses like that. And that goes back to that resume, the online resume thing, it works in the same way. You submit your resume to a company, they're using that. They've done these predictors of who's going to be a good employee, and if you don't fit that box, you don't get seen by a human at all.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, where do we draw the line with that? Because how many people have been unable to get a job because I hear that the market is terrible because you can't ever get in front of a person. You know, hundreds of resumes get submitted and you may not ever get a call. Where do we draw the line in saying that maybe the AI is missing some things? You know, is every single resume that doesn't get seen by a person truly a non-valuable resume? Is it just because they missed using one word makes them not a potential employee?
Yeah.
So I guess how far do we trust it to make the right choice? And just because they did use the right combination of words, does that make them a good candidate as an employee?
And when will we draw the line of using it for things like court cases?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, if you use that,
A
then
judge,
you wouldn't even need a judge and a
AI
jury.
is
You could
impartial.
program.
Yeah.
You could program the AI
Evidence.
to
Put
make
your
that
arguments
choice.
in there.
Yeah.
And then the AI can use the evidence to determine if you're guilty or not.
Right. Do we trust that?
And then if you load it with all the statistics of other court cases, then you don't even need a Supreme Court either.
Right.
Because then
It
the
can
AI
research
could determine based on the other court cases whether or not.
And then the AI could also, you load in all of the information about the penalties and things.
And it would be the judge and the jury
and determine
everything. The sentence
the
and
sentencing.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you trust that? What if the sentence is death?
Right.
And then we're back to that question. Where do we stop it? Because where do we give that power to that AI of life or death? Because if we ever get to that point where the AI has the power of life or death, then
You have lost all control.
you have lost control. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we want to know what our readers think of AI. Like, what is their experience with AI and what they think about it, and
Yeah.
are they thinking like?
Am I the only one
doomsday?
here sitting here going
Like,
freaking out?
you
I
know,
just
like
want AI to plan my meals for me.
cook my meals. I want it to cook my meals.
Yeah, I just wanted to fold my laundry, honestly.
That sounded really good, didn't it?
Yeah, now you got
Right.
me thinking of like all the
I
things,
want a
all
robot
of
to
the
do the
things I
laundry,
could do if I
cook
didn't
dinner.
have to do dishes or
Mm-hmm.
laundry or
Yeah.
anything like that. So yeah, we want to know. Hit us up on MMC Chat on our Facebook group. Hit us up on our blog.
Yeah.
Let us know what's going on, what you think about AI. And we'll have a Facebook poll up, hopefully, for you to check it out. And what are we talking about next week?
I believe we are talking secrets of a perfect kitchen.
Oh, that's right.
That'll
Yes.
go
Oh,
perfect with
that
perfect kitchen.
AI.
Would be AI.
AI.
AI cleaning the kitchen.
Oh my gosh, actually, you made me think of a Home Improvement episode where he has like a kitchen. It's a self-cleaning kitchen. And you like seal it up and it washes itself.
Okay.
Whenever I think of
Didn't
like
Pee Wee
smart
Herman
house,
have one of those too? Kind of. Well, it made us breakfast.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, had a machine that made his breakfast. Yeah.
have you ever read what is it? There Will Come Soft Rains
No,
I
by
have
Ray
not.
Bradbury.
No,
It's
I
about a
have not.
smart house that
Oh.
is still
Ray Bradbury
functioning
was a
after
smart
a nuclear war.
man.
And
Oh wow.
and there was like it was like pretty much a smart house where everything was made in the kitchen and everything like that. But we'll talk more about that later.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
y'all's homework, is to read that short story.
That
I
sounds
love Ray
so
Bradbury.
interesting and so lonely that like the robots are making the breakfast, putting it on the table, and no one comes to eat it, and then they scrape it in the trash and start over again.
Yeah.
Insane.
There's a lot of sci-fi about that too.
Ray Bradbury, visionary of his time. And,
Absolutely.
maybe I'll write a blog about that. I don't know. But, so yeah, next week, Perfect Kitchen. Y'all hit us up and,
What was the name of that book again?
oh, it's called There Will Come Soft Rains. And it's a short story. Not
Okay.
very long.
I bet it's
He's a
free
master
on
of short
Kindle or
stories.
Oh, yeah,
Amazon.
it's free. Somewhere.
Cool.
PDF of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.